Hello everyone, welcome back to another knit and chat. Today I'm finally sitting down to record this and I'm really excited to talk to you all about all of the vintage projects, the finished objects, the stash busting that I managed to do in March, and everything going on with my knitting and crochet lately. So let's just get into it. I am going to be working on one of the projects that I'm going to be discussing in this video. We'll get to this in a second, but this is the project that I will be working on during this video, and I have quite a few things to talk about today. So let's just start with the stash busting from last month. I had the best stash busting month since I started again, because I was technically doing stash busting in 2024, but I never really stuck to it or tracked it very well or held myself to it. So 2025 was my kind of reset. So I'm planning to hopefully start making these videos every 2 weeks so that I can get at least 2 videos out per month. Hopefully I will be able to do that, and I will only talk about stash busting at the beginning of the month, whatever episode goes up closest to the beginning of a new month. The one in between, I won't talk about my stash busting, just to keep things nice and even. I started out my stash busting with 162 skeins of yarn, I think, and I have made really great progress. So in March, I used 6 skeins of yarn, which doesn't sound like very much, honestly, but it is the most that I have managed to use in 1 month so far. And I didn't buy any yarn in all of March, which I am very proud of. That brings us down to 154 total skeins, which is still so much yarn and very much not in the place that I want to be in, which is why I am doing the stash busting in the first place. I feel better having 154 skeins than I did with 162. But yeah, stash busting went great. I am hopeful for April stash busting. I'm hoping that I can just continue to make good progress and work on getting through this stash. And I am doing what I can to not buy new yarn, because I just have so much in my stash already that is good yarn and that I really want to use. I just, for whatever reason, haven't gotten around to it yet. So I'm doing my best to not buy anymore, and I'm feeling really good about how it's been going so far. So I'm definitely going to be keeping up with that. That brings us to the next thing, the next little topic here, which is my finished objects from March. I got a lot done because I also finished a lot more projects than I normally do. Part of that is because I had some gifts in there. So I finished 5 items in March. 2 of them I have to show you, and the other 3 were gifts. So unfortunately, I will just be putting up pictures on the screen because I don't have the actual projects anymore, but I'll still talk about them and put pictures up so that you can see what they look like. But yeah, I got 5 projects done last month, and I feel just really good about that. I don't know, that's another one of my problems, is that I have so many works in progress. I don't know why, but sometimes I just get an itch for a new cast on, and it's really hard to not do it, which is why I end up with, I don't even know how many projects cast on right now, and I don't really want to know. I have a lot, and that's all that I need to know. I am working on chipping away at that. I've been trying to do a kind of system where, unless it's a gift, because like gifts I need to cast on and get done by the time that I'm supposed to be giving the gift, I'm trying to do a system where I have to finish 2 projects of a certain category before I can cast on a new one in that category. I have them categorized because like some things are smaller than others. I have to cast off and finish 2 sweaters before I start a new sweater. I have to finish 2 accessories before I start a new accessory. Stuff like that. I have been trying to stick to that lately, and it's been really helping, honestly. It's kind of like meeting myself halfway. Like, I know that I'm still gonna get that itch to cast on something new, so instead of trying to fight that itch and then inevitably caving and casting something on, I am just postponing the new cast on and making sure that I'm at least taking 2 steps forward before I take 1 step back. And it's been pretty helpful. So I'm really glad that I got so many projects done, I will start with the ones that I don't have. The first project that I finished in March was a baby blanket for my new nephew. This pattern is the Wavy Baby Blanket pattern by Caitlin Barthold. I'm not entirely sure how to say that, so I apologize if I mispronounced that, but this is a pretty simple pattern, pretty easy to follow, and honestly simple enough that it was a little bit tedious. This uses sport to DK weight yarn, and I used 4 different colors of yarn. So for this blanket, I used all Loops and Threads yarns. These are just like Michael's brand yarn, and I just found them in the like baby blanket section. The first 2 were the 2 colors of the same line of yarn. I used the Delicate DK yarn, which actually I think is more of a sport weight than a DK, but I used this in the color white and in the color mint. The white was my main color, so I used, I think, a skein and a half of that, and then everything else, I think I only used half a skein of each. This pattern really did not go through yarn, which I thought was interesting. The next yarn that I used was the Flex yarn in the color Powder Blue. This one I think is more of a DK or maybe a light worsted. This was a little bit heavier than the other yarns, and so I took out one of the repeats done in this color because it was throwing off the gauge a little bit. The color blocks, you do 4 rows of each color, but for this Flex yarn I only did 3 rows because it ended up being the same length that way, and I just felt like it looked better. And then the last color that I used was the Loops and Threads Snuggly Wuggly in the color Pale Blue. Pretty identical to the Delicate DK yarn, I thought. They felt very similar. I still have some of each of those yarns, so I'm probably gonna have to find something to do with them. So yeah, that project was pretty fun. I'm gonna cut this part out of the picture or blur it or something, but I did crochet my nephew's name on the blanket on like the bottom edge of the blanket. I just did it in surface crochet in the white yarn. I just did it in cursive so that it was one continuous line, so I didn't have to weave in a bunch of ends, because I hate that. I hate weaving in ends. And then the next projects that I finished, these kind of go hand in hand, so I'll just talk about them kind of at the same time. But the next project that I made in March, or the next 2 projects that I made, were presents for my sister. I made 2 hair bows because she really likes to wear bows in her hair. So I made a knit bow and a crochet bow. I just got like the biggest size barrette that I could find, and I sewed them on to the barrette so she can clip them to the back of her hair. The first pattern that I used was called the Yuletide Ribbon. This pattern is, I think, for a Christmas decoration and not actually to be used as a hair bow, but it looked to be a pretty simple pattern, so I decided to use it. Oh, also for both of these bows, I used scrap yarn, so I really don't know anything about the yarn that I used, so I'm sorry, but I won't have any information on that to give you. It was a simple enough pattern. It was a pretty fast knit, which I think is because it was such a small project, and it used barely any yardage. Like I said, was using scraps for this, and it really didn't take much of the scrap that I had at all. I still had some left over when I was done, but I didn't love it. I especially didn't really like that you get to the end of the pattern and it's just like, okay, now tie it into a bow. Maybe that's on me for not really knowing how to tie that particular shape into a nice looking bow, but I was hoping for a little bit more on that end. It was kind of an oddly shaped pattern. It was like a lot thinner on the edge, and then it got thicker towards like the part that you would tie into the actual bow shape, and then it got thinner again for the other like dangly ribbon part. It was an interesting shape, and so I wasn't really sure how I was supposed to go about tying that into a bow. I don't know, other than that, the pattern was fine. It turned out pretty nice. It has a nice like I-cord edge, and the rest is done in garter stitch, so it was a pretty easy pattern to follow. You just do increases and decreases here and there, and I think that it turned out pretty nice, so The other bow that I made was a crochet bow. For this, I followed a pattern called the Ellise Hair Bow. And this pattern I didn't like. It was pretty poorly written. And also what I didn't realize until I was already partway through making the bow was that you do all of the pieces separately and then sew them together. And I did not like that. I really didn't. And I was worried that it wasn't going to turn out very nicely, but I think it came out fine. I mainly just hope that my sister likes them. Okay, so that brings us to the 2 projects that I actually still have. These are projects that I made for myself, which is most of the work that I do. I don't really give away my work very often, but this is the first one. This is the 3-hour jumper, I think it's called. And this is a very loose gauge sweater. This is a 1930s or 40s pattern, and it is done on very big needles with a worsted weight yarn, which is why it's called the 3-hour sweater, because it was supposed to be like a sweater that you can knit in 3 hours. It definitely did not take 3 hours, but it was pretty fast. Because of the big needles, it is a pretty loose gauge, so you do need to wear something else underneath, but I think it turned out very nice. It's very comfy and light, nice for spring and for fall when it's kind of transitional weather, and it also has this nice little keyhole detail in the front. I'm trying to figure out how to show you that. A little keyhole detail on the front neckline, and then I put this vintage button on, and I really like this sweater. I have worn it several times since I made it. I'm starting to realize that I really like short sleeve sweaters like this. They just feel so much more versatile than a longer sleeve sweater, which I also love, but I don't get as much wear out of, so I definitely want to make more sweaters like this with just little short sleeves. The only thing about this one is that the sleeves are kind of tight on me. You can kind of see that they don't really have any stretch to them. I think that's because of the way that I bound off. I didn't really know that stretchy bind offs were a thing at the time, and so I just did a normal bind off. This project I finished, I think, a year ago. I cast it off a year ago, and then I didn't get around to seaming it up until last month, which is really embarrassing, honestly. It took me a long time to actually get around to this. I have one other sweater that is still not sewn up, and so I need to get around to that one too. But yeah, I'm really glad that this is finally done. I have worn it so many times already. It's a really kind of staple piece for me, and it's really comfy. It does have a little bit of something weird is happening with like the neckline and the shoulders, where it just kind of pulls weird in like my shoulder area, and the sleeves are tight, but other than that, I love this sweater. It's very nice. I'm gonna get a ton of wear out of it. I love it. So my next finished object from last month is also another piece that's kind of great for transitional wear for spring and fall and kind of cooler weather. And this is also a project that I have talked about in my last 2 episodes, and I'm so happy that I'm finally going to close this door and call it finished. And this is the cable stitch jacket. It is hard to show you this. This is a very chunky kind of sweater. It has these really nice cables all over, and this is knit with yarn held double. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot to tell you about the yarn that I used for the last sweater. Okay, I'm so sorry. I used yarn from Stash. I used to buy pretty much just the cheapest yarn I could get my hands on, and so that meant that I got a lot of acrylic yarn. I'm not really a fan of acrylic anymore. I use it here and there when I need to, especially for baby projects. Other than baby projects though, I don't really buy a whole lot of acrylic anymore, but I still have a lot in my stash. I feel like it's more wasteful to get rid of that yarn than to just use it up, so I'm using all of the acrylic that I still have. And this is one of those projects. This is Loops and Threads Impeccable yarn, which is, I think, most of the yarn that I have. Oh, also normal blankets. I also will probably never use any natural fiber for a normal blanket. This is just Loops and Threads impeccable yarn in the color black, and I used, I think, 2 skeins for this. It's a very loose gauge, so it barely takes any yarn up. So back to this sweater. This is a pattern called the Cable Stitch Jacket by the Spool Cotton Company. This is worsted weight yarn held double, again on pretty chunky needles, and I used, again, Loops and Threads impeccable yarn in the color Thunder. This was, again, me using up stash, except I thought that I had 4 skeins, and I ended up using 4 skeins to make this whole sweater. And I thought that I had all 4 skeins somewhere in my stash, but when I got to the end of my first 2 skeins, I could not, for the life of me, figure out where I had put the other 2 skeins. I don't know where they went. To this day, I have no idea what happened to them. And so I ended up having to buy 2 more skeins so I could finish this, which I think was worth it. I haven't worn this out yet, but I absolutely love this sweater. It is so thick and comfy, and I like that it has short sleeves because it adds a little bit of warmth without adding too much warmth, I think. And it would go better with something like the shirt that I'm wearing, which has short sleeves, that I could just pop it on over and warm up a little bit if it is a kind of in-between day where it's a little too warm for long sleeves but too cool for just plain short sleeves. I am so happy that I finally have this done, and I love it so much. I know that I'm gonna get a ton of use out of this. Alright, so those were all of the finished objects that I had. So now we can get into some of the current projects that I am working on and thinking about for April. I will start with my priority projects. I typically pick a priority knit project and a priority crochet project for each month, and those are the projects that I try my hardest to get done, or at least to make significant progress in during the month that they are selected, just because it helps to keep me on track with things and helps to keep me going in a more steady direction, more linearly towards finally finishing a project. So I'm gonna start by talking about my priorities for this month. So my priority crochet project is the project that I am working on in this video. This is the Valentine Pullover, and this is, I think, also by the Spool Cotton Company. This is another 40s, 30s-ish pattern, and this is done in crochet cotton. I am using the Loops and Threads crochet cotton in the color Ocean. I will correct myself if I am wrong, but I know for sure it's in the color Ocean. It's a super pretty, like, variegated blue and green and purple and a little bit of a pinkish color, and I just think it's beautiful. I'm not usually the type of person to go for variegated colors for sweaters, but I saw this yarn and I absolutely loved it. I knew I wanted to use it for this sweater, and I am trying to branch out in my wardrobe to brighter colors and more interesting pieces because I feel like I have a lot of staples and a lot of gray and black and brown, and I really want to branch out more. So this is one of my attempts at that, and I love how this is coming out so far. It's got these pretty shells all over, and you just alternate between these shells and then like a kind of open work row that evens out the crochet into a flat top. And I am almost to the point of armholes. I just have to do this one shell row that I'm on right now, and then I'll be ready for armholes, and then the like top portion, and then that will be the back of the blouse. I'm really, really excited to wear this. I feel like it's gonna look very nice, paired with like a black skirt or something like that. I think it's gonna look really nice. This project I am making and I have chosen as the priority for the month because I want to have more summer clothes. I am honestly kind of a summer hater. I'm slowly starting to learn to tolerate summer, but I don't like summer very much, and because of that, I tend to avoid thinking about clothing for the summertime, and so my wardrobe really struggles when it starts to warm up. And I had this problem last year where I got to the summertime and realized that I was just re-wearing the same 3 outfits again and again, the same 3 shirts. Shirts are my biggest problem. Skirts I can get away with at any season, I think, but I realized that I needed to make a change. I thrifted a bunch more shirts last year. I have since thrifted more summery shirts, like this one I got recently, to fill that gap in my wardrobe. And then this shirt is also part of that. I wanted to have something cotton and really light and open like this is, to wear during the summer to keep me cool and comfortable, and also to still feel pretty and confident in. This is something that I am working on, trying to get it done for summertime. I have a lot of these crochet cotton shirts that I am hoping to get done. Probably not all of them will get done by summertime, but I'm still having a lot of fun working on this. It has been really entertaining, which I was worried about because it's a lot of just the same crochet over and over, and it is a very small gauge, so I was worried that I would get kind of bored with it. But I think because the rows switch up between the shell pattern and the open work pattern, I think that it has just helped to keep my interest as I work on this. And I just got to the end of my first skein. You can see where I tied on the new skein. So I am on my second ball of this crochet cotton. I think I have 4 of them, or I had 4 of them. Now I have 3 more to get through. And I think that is probably going to be the perfect amount. But yeah, this is my priority crochet project for the month, and I'm hoping to get this done as soon as possible. I don't think that I'm going to be able to get it done in April because it's halfway through the month and I'm only on the back so far, but fingers crossed, we'll see. If not, I will move it to May and hopefully finish it in May. And then my priority knitting project for the month is a project that has been on my needles for so long, and I'm just really kind of sick of working on it, and I just want to get it done and get it off my plate because I have just been working on it for so long, and it's a very kind of tedious and monotonous project to work on. So this is my priority for April, even though I most likely won't be able to wear this until it starts to cool down again. It is called the Lacy Yoke Blouse, mostly stockinette sweater up until the kind of collar area where there's a lace pattern. And it has a bit of a boat neck, which I'm excited for. I haven't had any boat neck clothing before, and I am excited to try it out because I think it would be, I like the silhouette. I think it would be a nice kind of shirt to have. So I've been working on this for, it's been over a year. I feel like it's bordering on 2 years. It's been such a long time, and I've been procrastinating working on it because it is, like I said, mostly stockinette. So there's a lot of back and forth. It's a lot of the same stuff over and over until you get to the yoke, and then it's like, yay, something interesting, and then you have to do the whole front piece. I've already done I think it's the back. So I'm working on the front now, and I'm just hoping to get this done soon. I am almost to the end of one of my balls of yarn, and then I think I have 2 more skeins left. I hope I have 2 and not 1, because this is a discontinued yarn. This is the Premier Everyday Wool Worsted, I think, in the color Cadet, I believe. This is a discontinued yarn. I bought it on sale, and I was really excited because it was a very affordable yarn, and it's a pretty nice yarn. It's a wool blend, and I really liked the color. I liked a lot of the other colors that they had, and about a month after I bought the yarn that I bought on sale, I went back to the Premier website to see like what other colors I might be interested in, and I couldn't find it anywhere, and I realized it was on sale because it was getting discontinued, and I'm really, really sad about that. But I do think it's going to be a bit warm though, which is why I don't think that I'm going to be able to wear this when I finish it, because where I live it's starting to warm up, and get more into spring, summery weather. I'm trying to finish this more for the sake of getting it off my needles than anything else, because I think it's going to be a while until I get to wear this, but I just want to be done with it. I'm kind of sick of it. So those are my priority projects for this month, but I also have a couple other projects that I have in mind to focus on and to hopefully get at least a little bit of progress on. I have lots of ambitions when it comes to knitting and crochet. There's always so much that I want to get done, and I do have a couple of projects that are like mostly done and I just need to finish them, or like it's getting to the time of year when I want to have them. I'm just gonna bring you through those real fast. First project that I have in this little portion of the video that I want to talk about is this project that I have been working on for a really long time, and the only thing that I still have to do on it is weave in the ends, so I really want to get this done. But this is the throw blanket that I have been working on to put on my bed, on the end of my bed. This pattern is called the Sampler Afghan to Crochet, I believe, and it is a really beautiful pattern, honestly. It has just a bunch of these blocks that you make, a whole bunch of motifs, kind of just, yeah, what the name of the pattern says. They're little sampler pieces, and you make one in each color and then sew them all together, or crochet them all together and then put a border on it. And it has taken forever to do. It's so pretty, but it has taken such a long time to do. And I am just so ready to have it off my hands and just not have to think about it anymore. And all that I have to do is I have a lot of ends to weave in. There's so many ends just this is one little intersection between a few of the blocks, and there's 4 ends here, there's 3 ends here, there's so many ends, and I really don't like weaving in ends, so this has been a challenge to get myself to actually finish, but I'm so close. I just want to be done with this, so I really want to work on finishing this in April. I really hope that in either the next episode or my first May episode, I will be able to sit down and tell you that this is done, because I just want to be done with it. It's so beautiful, but it's taken so long to do. Each of the blocks, and then crocheting a little border around them, and then crocheting them all together, and then crocheting a border around all of them. It has taken so long, and I'm so ready to be done with it. The yarn that I used for this pattern is a bunch of loops and threads, Impeccable, because it was very affordable, and like I was saying, I don't see any reason to use natural fibers for a blanket, because I just personally do not have the money to spend on natural fibers for thousands of yards of blanket. This is one where I intentionally chose acrylic for this project. I bought 3 different colors of purple. I don't have any of the yarn labels anymore, just because it's been so long with me working on this project, so unfortunately I can't tell you the color names, and I also don't know how many skeins this used. I finished the actual crochet portion of this last year, I think, so I'm sorry, I don't have any information about that. But one of the projects that I'm really hoping to focus on, and I will hopefully be able to put up some better pictures next time that I update you on this, of the entire blanket and maybe the blanket on my bed where I'm planning to have it. I'm really excited to just have this done. Okay, so the next project that I want to talk about, that I am hoping to kind of focus on in April, is the Moby sweater that I am making for my husband. I am working on, hello, I am working on the front yoke right now. This side is the back, so that gives you a good picture of how this is looking so far. This is one of the greatest things that I have ever knit in the history of me knitting. I am so happy with how this is turning out, and I'm so excited to give this to my husband and see him wearing it. But it is a very time-consuming and laborious project. It's gonna take me a long time to finish this one, which is good, because then it won't have to sit in the closet unworn until it cools down enough for this to be actually worn by my husband. But yeah, this is how it is looking so far. This is the front. It has so many textures and patterns on it. I love it so much. I am using the Loops and Threads Luxe Merino in the color Navy. I think I bought 5 or 6 skeins of this, and I am almost to the end of my first. So it's going good, and I am having a lot of fun knitting this. It is a very fun project. It just does take a long time and a lot of concentration, especially in the beginning, doing the setup rows and the German short rows and trying to learn all of the abbreviations in the chart was so much to do. It was pretty difficult in the beginning, but I feel like I'm getting my footing now, so it's a bit easier, but it still does need quite a bit of attention. So it's gonna take a long time, but I do want to make some progress on this project this month and hopefully chip away at some of it. Okay, and then I have one last project to talk about for this video, and that is a repeat project. One of my projects, I didn't bring out the whole project because it is kind of unwieldy when this is on the needles, but one of my projects is a duplicate of this sweater, the cable stitch jacket that I showed you earlier, except I want to make it in, or I am making it, it's kind of halfway done. I'm making it in this color. This is another Stashbusting project of Loops and Threads impeccable yarn that I had just in my stash already, so I'm trying to work through it. But I am making it in this color. I feel like this is gonna be something that's more, if I have it in 2 colors, a dark and a light gray, I feel like it's gonna be so much more versatile. I can wear it with a lot more stuff because I can just match it to the colors of whatever I'm wearing. So I'm hoping to finish this while it's still kind of transitional weather so I can get a lot of wear out of it. So I picked it for this month because I would like to, if not finish it, I'd like to make some serious progress on it. Sorry I didn't get it out. I really was not feeling like getting it out, especially since I was going to be talking about the first one. I figured I would just pull this one out and show you this. Okay, sorry if the angle changed a little bit. My phone ran out of storage. So I think I was saying about that last project that I feel like having it in 2 colors is going to be a lot more versatile and I'm going to get so much wear out of it. So I'm excited to hopefully make some significant progress on this project, if not finish it in April. I want to hopefully have it while we still have transitional weather. So that is everything that I had to talk about today. I hope that you enjoyed all of the projects that I had to show off and everything that I have planned. Let me know what you've been working on. I would love to hear about any vintage projects that you have been working on. I will link all of the patterns that I talked about down below. I will hopefully be back in 2 weeks with another update. I'm going to do my best to start making these every 2 weeks, but we'll see if I have time for that. Fingers crossed. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I appreciate you so much for watching. I have 2 other episodes. If you haven't seen those yet, I would love if you went and checked them out. And I have lots of other stuff linked down in the description if you want to check any of that out. So I hope you're having a great day, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.